One Star Cowboys podcast. I'm Kevin Turner. We have Saad Youssef and Kent Garrison. John, up in Philly, as we come to you. Hope you're having a good Friday morning and have a good weekend planned, even though last night it was a tough loss on opening night. Eagles 24, Cowboys 20. We'll chop it up, and we will hear from John as he sent us some audio, of his reaction and some thoughts after talking to everyone at the podium and in the locker room. But Saad, first things first here. I mean, there's a lot of things we're going to get to, but if you had one major takeaway, what would be your headline from tonight's game?
I know a lot of fans don't subscribe to this, and I certainly don't either, but moral victory. I wonder if there is something to take from this. What I mean by that is not that the Cowboys necessarily look great, because there were times, but not consistently. But it's more so for me, it reminded me of that Tampa game in week 1 in 2021, where, they barely lost to Tom Brady's Buccaneers, and you kind of felt better about the team than whatever the scoreboard said. And I think they went on to win the 6 games after that. I'm not saying the Cowboys this year are going to do that. I'm just saying that, a lot of it was kind of what you expected. I thought the offense showed that it can carry the team. I thought the defense was questionable at times, and then things flipped in the second half. And I don't know how much the rain delay has to do with that, because after the rain delay, not a single point was scored between either team. So it was just all it was just all really weird to interpret. But I would say that it kind of boils down to where I don't feel like the Cowboys are in a terrible spot right now.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, first of all, one of the crazier starts to an NFL season ever with the Jalen Carter spit. And we can talk about that in a second. And, for me, it's those things you can kind of choose what you're going to write about. But as things escalated, I ended up going, one of the Cowboys' highest paid players lets them down, kind of ends up being the story for me. And I know it could be the Miles Sanders fumble, and it could kind of be that just really insane sequence right before the rain delay, because, man, let's talk about that for a second. Because that's, to me, that was maybe the second biggest thing in the game, when I might just be overlooking that, hey, Jalen Carter got ejected before he had played a defensive snap. Maybe that is like a huge difference. I mean, that guy is such an important piece of that defense. But we should start there. Let's go in order. Let's start there. What? You can't just be spitting on people. I did see a few takes out there of people going, we've gotten soft. No, you can't just be spitting on people. But I love that NBC came back in the fourth quarter and was like, no, but here, Dak spit at the ground first. And I was like, well, okay, but Jalen Carter was also 3 yards past the ball near the Cowboys huddle. So he was up to no good. So what'd you think about all that?
Yeah, so, I've been around Dak since he's been a rookie, and he does that often. Now, the reaction that he had after he spit in the ground, maybe he was doing a little bit of baiting there. Maybe he was trying to get under the skin of the defense. That's not out of the question, in my opinion. However, I do think that, him spitting on the ground in the general direction does not in any way justify Jalen Carter and what he did, because you just can't do that in any situation. But also, it's before the game even starts, and the referee is right there. You have to, it's not even like your adrenaline of the game. It was the fourth quarter, and it got to your head. At that point, you have to be more composed than what Jalen Carter was. Like I said, I've seen Dak spit a lot during practices, games, all that stuff. But I'm also, the video speaks for itself. By the way, shout out to Nick Harris from the Forward Star Telegram, who, got to the bottom of that even before NBC showed that with his reporting during the game. But I do think that, when you see Dak's reaction, I'm not saying he's completely innocent on that, but I also don't think that Jalen Carter's reaction was warranted.
Yeah, to me, Jalen Carter just being there on the Cowboys side of the football when we were about to play, because first of all, there's the injury too that got overshadowed, around the opening kickoff. But then, Jalen Carter again was closer to the Cowboys huddle than he was the Eagles, defensive players at the time. So I think Dak did anything wrong. I did just kind of looking it up because I was thinking, I remember a few things. I remember in baseball for the Orioles, Roberto Alomar spitting in the face of an umpire one time. But there was a playoff game in 06, it would have been the 05 season, but it was January of 06. Sean Taylor of the Redskins at the time, the Washington team, spit at Michael Pittman of the Bucks during a playoff win, and he got suspended from that game and had to pay a fine. I do think, like, even though it's like not explicitly in the rule book on spitting, you just can't be spitting at dudes. Like, you just can't. So I had no problem with the ejection. There's a bit of a reputation that Jalen Carter already has. Just a weird start to the season, man.
Didn't D'Angelo Hall or T.O. also have a spitting incident or something?
You know what? I'm glad you asked, because it's a quick search here. And the D'Angelo Hall spitting incident, December 16th, 2006.
Yeah.
T.O. spit in the face of D'Angelo Hall during a game.
That's what it was. Yeah.
T.O. was fined $35,000. It happens.
Yeah.
So, first half, Cowboys get it and end up, because of that penalty too, they're on the other side of the field and have an easy 6-play drive, and they, Dak hits, simple pass to George Pickens for 6 yards, hits CeeDee Lamb on the sail route, and then Javonte Williams punches it in, and it's 7-0 before you know it. You're like, okay, whoa, what a start. You're feeling pretty good. And then the Eagles are like, hold on, 10 plays, 70 yards, no resistance at all. Jalen Hurts is running all over him. Saquon's getting 5 yards a pop, and the game's tied. Cowboys get it back, right back down the field, 14-7. Okay, this is how we're going to have to win games this year. So, as you end up getting to, halftime, and we have a very close game, I found this stat on Next Gen Stats they posted. And I think this is a good thing, at least a good sign for the defense and for Eberflus as your defensive coordinator moving forward. Because in the first half, the Cowboys defense played zone coverage on all 17 pass plays in the first half. They blitzed 0 times in the first half. They only generated 3 pressures. Jalen Hurts was averaging 3 seconds to throw the ball. He also was running it for 8 yards a carry, 6 times for 48 yards. Then that first time, because the Eagles got the ball out of the half, and that first series, the Cowboys blitzed him on 2 of his 5 dropbacks, and they ended up getting a stop there. They had the Marshawn Nealon, Kenny Clark half sack. And then you noticed after the rain delay, or the weather delay, when the Cowboys ended up giving the ball back, or the Eagles, the Eagles had it. The Cowboys, on second down and third down, they ran a Trayvon Diggs blitz and then a Deron Bland blitz on third down. And I started to put pressure in, like that big adjustment to show you that that's there. Makes you feel so much better about however you were feeling about the Micah trade. And, again, you don't get the win here, but I feel like, considering they were 7.5 and some books 8.5 point dogs, to have a really good chance to win that game, I think you feel good about what the defense did from really, the entire second half.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the one thing that's hard to read is just how differently I felt about the defense in both halves, where in the first half, it was like there was no pass rush, but also after Jalen Hurts is getting free on you a little bit, like, why is there not at least a spy or something? You get a linebacker on him. And that fueled a lot of the, Micah Parsons talk on social media and all that, and understandably so. But KT, if I can take your point and take it a bit further, I think it was a pretty solid showing, I think, for the coaching staff overall. I thought Schottenheimer, the way he managed the end of the first half was really good in terms of going for it, using the timeouts when he did and all that. I know there's going to be some discussion about should you have let it run out to the 2-minute warning at the end of the game or take it. But hey, I mean, I could go either way on that. If it's a 4th down, I understand wanting to take your time and put your best play forward. And CD was open on that one. That was not a quote unquote drop. That was a tough catch. But but he was open, so they drew it up
Yeah.
well. So, that's revisionist history because if CD catches that, we're talking about how it's great that they drew up the perfect play. So I thought Schottenheimer did a good job, but to come back to your point now, like I thought Eberflus showed flexibility. I thought, the first half, it did not look good. The scheme didn't look good. And in the second half, you're right. There were more blitzes. I don't know how much the rain delay had to do with the Eagles offense slowing down, but regardless, Eberflus and the Cowboys defense was kind of doing their job and holding up there.
Yeah. First, into the first half, very good right there to get that field goal and do that the right way. Being decisive with your timeouts is important. Now, you're right at the 2-minute warning. That is, to me, I thought they actually did the right thing there. I think at home, maybe that's something where you can maybe try to get a playoff, but it's 4th and 3. You got about 15 seconds to work with. And to me, it was too risky, not in terms of getting a good playoff. To me, it was too risky. Like, what if you do get a playoff? It doesn't go well, and you hit the 2-minute warning. There was too many. You could have got the double whammy right there. Like you were rushing for nothing, and I just thought it was kind of too close. Maybe you give them 5 or 10 more seconds, then I think you could probably snap the ball on 4th and 3 and feel good about what you've got there. But I think right there you're thinking ball's in my hand. I'll take my chances on 4th and 3. Again, Dak is the highest paid player in the league, and CD is one of the high. Like you're expecting these guys to come through there, and that's where I think, what happened there. I thought everything Schottenheimer did had some intentionality to it. There we go. That's what you want, though. You can't be you can't you have to have a plan in all those situations. And help me outside because you may know this. I've heard, and I haven't got full confirmation. Does he have? Everyone's always got a little bit of help, but does he have someone specifically on staff there to help in those situations?
Yeah, he does. And we spoke with the guy and met him at the combine as well. So yeah, Schottenheimer does have a guy who I believe was also McCarthy's guy in Green Bay. I'm blanking on his name right off the top of my head. I might get back to you here in a second, but yeah, Schottenheimer does have a guy, and I do think that helps because Schottenheimer is the head coach. He's the play caller. He's doing all of that. It's a lot on his plate, and there's nothing wrong with having a guy in that situation. So yeah, he does. I don't know, like obviously how their communication goes. That's actually a really good question that I think would be helpful to get to the bottom of. But yeah, he does have a guy that's helps in those roles, and I thought whether it was his contributions or Schottenheimer's decisions, they were really good.
Yeah, it is a bummer that you couldn't get anything going in the second half. You don't. We're talking about how much like this offense is going to have to carry things and things like that, but it's just like the game changed. That weather delay throws a wrinkle into everything. I really did enjoy the report on Trayvon Diggs going into a field level suite to enjoy an uncrustable, proving again that Trayvon Diggs can kind of just go do his own thing sometimes, and that's fine. I enjoyed that. But this is terrible because now I'm doing what they want me to do. This is what Jerry's hoping for here. See, guys, we're in it. We're a competitive team right here. And it kind of might be, it's in the movie The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco, they call this the honeydee philosophy. And they might have honeydeed me because now I'm like, hey, look at what we got here. We got, this Clayton Adams, that Miles Sanders running play, which, by the way, to me, the biggest sequence of the game is that. The Miles Sanders 44-yard run. He does get caught, but, that's one of my big pet peeves about Cowboys analysis over the offseason is about the lack of what they've done at the running back position. I'm like, well, hold on. We had Zeke last year. This is still an upgrade. So Miles Sanders has the long run, but he can't finish it off. And then you get down there, but you get a George Pickens unnecessary personal foul, which over under on those this year. I mean, who knows? And then you have the throw up the scenes to Jake Ferguson, which appeared to be underthrown on purpose. I'm sure people who are very critical of Dak would not agree with that, but I thought he was trying to underthrow him and let Ferguson adjust. Doesn't work out there. Second down ended up kind of being a throwaway play. And then third down, the personal foul. So you're back in the mix. And then you have the Miles Sanders fumble. And that's when God decided to go ahead and just say, you know what, I'm going to run a storm in here because God's favorite football team, he couldn't handle that fumble.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah,
know.
real quick, KT. The guy is Ryan Feder. He's the guy that helps Schottenheimer with those game management situations. He spent 2015 to 2018 in Green Bay with McCarthy as well. So he's there listed on their website as the game management coordinator. There's another guy that is close to Schottenheimer as well, but I think Ryan Feder is the one who's helping out in those situations. No, but I agree with you. I think, that was a really weird sequence, and encouraging to see Miles Sanders do that. But then also, that fumble was just a real, punch in the gut for the Cowboys. But when we started the podcast, you asked, what my overall takeaway was, and I kind of said it's maybe too early to plan the funeral for the Cowboys this year. But if you ask me why the team lost, it's not the rain delay, it's not Miles Sanders, it's none of that. It's CeeDee Lamb. There's no sugarcoating that. Two gigantic drops. And that's not counting the diving third down the third attempt on fourth down on that final drive. But the one over the middle, you got to catch that. Doesn't really matter how many footsteps you're hearing in that situation, whatever the case may be, you have to catch that. But then secondly, that absolute dot by Dak on the post route in the second to last drive of the game, it's just inexcusable. There's no reason why CD doesn't come down with both of those passes.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, that's what it ends up being the story on a night where there could have been a million storylines. But that is what ends up being the story. And I try to, when I slept on this and was just thinking back to how I was feeling, last night after the game, I was pretty locked in on the CeeDee Lamb thing. And then, even this morning before we fired it up and started recording, I was in my head kind of going, okay, I mean, look at all the things and the Miles Sanders fumble. And it's all of these things together. And I ended up thinking, well, CeeDee Lamb got that one out of his system for the year, and he had 7 catches for 110 yards. And, he's still by far your best offensive weapon and a big reason why you would have a chance to even make the playoffs this year. Like, that's going to be there. And I ended up talking to myself and just being positive about, okay, I thought Kenny Clark was really good. I thought Marshawn Nealon was really good. I thought Sam Williams ended up playing really well. Like the way the defense was flying around in the second half, given the fact there was an hour break too, we should take that into consideration, is enough to make you go, okay, take a deep breath. Okay, maybe it's not as bad. And you never know. Like, dude, we're talking about a one game and a tiny sample size, and it's real easy to jump off a ledge or go in a certain direction. But I ended up kind of going, we're going to be okay. And thinking like, yeah, we're going to beat up on the Giants next week. That's how I woke up this morning. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think the next 2 weeks are going to tell me a lot about where this team is and what they're destined for, because the Giants are that's a game that you should win comfortably by double digits if you're going to be the team that we're expecting you to be, because you just barely lost to the Eagles. And then the Bears is a team that you should beat. I'm not saying you have to blow them out or anything like that, because I expect the Bears to be decent at least this year, but that's a game you should be in and be decent going into the big game against Green Bay at AT&T Stadium, which I think will be the September Super Bowl for the Cowboys if this one wasn't it. So I think the next 2 weeks will tell us a lot before we go into that Green Bay game. But I'm with you. I mean, I think if you take all the good stuff from this game and just are able to spread it out across 4 quarters, and it wasn't good stuff like it was a couple plays or a drive. It was a solid half of football on both sides for the Cowboys. It's just, unfortunately, they were on different halves. You didn't really put together, I hate to use the coach cliche, 60 minutes, because the offense played great in the first half, defense did not. Then defense played great in the second half, offense did not. You just got to put that together, and then I wonder where the Cowboys are once that does happen.
I just want to say there were a lot of refreshing things to me on offense, and I know I've been openly pretty critical of Mike McCarthy really throughout his entire tenure here. So, but I swear I'm not just doing I like and Clayton Adams is going to get a lot of credit, and football nerds all across the land, including our good friends over at the Athletic Football Show, Robert Mays, David Hellman, all those guys. Absolutely love, what Arizona was doing in their run game last year. And if you watch, there's a couple plays. I think the Turpin handoff on the first drive of the game was a good, really good design. But the Miles Sanders design on the 44-yard run, I mean, you're getting it was just beautifully set up. It's one of those things where you could just kind of watch all day and see it happen. And you'd like Miles Sanders to have the juice to finish that run. And that's another thing I guess we could probably get into is the decision to keep Jaden Blue inactive. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, without knowing exactly what the reasoning and all that stuff was behind it, obviously he was dealing with an ankle injury that happened in preseason. The field conditions in Philadelphia with the weather were not great. Maybe that goes into some of your consideration of, maybe you knew that this was a game that you're going to ride Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders a little extra, and you give Jaden Blue maybe an extra week. I don't really view him as the fourth running back on the depth chart, but also at the same time, the way the Cowboys view Hunter Lipke is not necessarily just a running back. So I don't know what all went into that decision, but I think the field conditions and his injury probably were contributing factors in that as well.
I thought I saw, and I could be wrong here, I thought I saw Broadus. I thought I saw Brian Broadus tweet something out to the extent of,
Special teams.
Yeah, special teams.
Yeah.
And maybe they thought right now with where they are, on the roster until they get some things figured out. Maybe that's the way. Maybe they don't fully trust Jaden Blue right now, and that maybe that's coming. And it can also be a thing that's like, hey, ankle is messed up. It's a long week coming up. Good to go week 2. I'm sure that Miles Sanders fumble is not going to help him at all moving forward. You look at Javonte Williams; he's going to get the 2 touchdowns. And I was a big fan of Javonte Williams coming out of North Carolina. I thought he was worthy of being picked where he was. I think he was the 35 pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. I would have been surprised if he went in the first round. Really liked him. Had the knee injuries, was in a bad situation. Like I've been a fan of that pickup. But you go look at it, it's like, okay, well, it's not like they were like just really crushed him. I mean, you end up getting 15 carries for 54 yards. 3.6 yards a carry. I mean, you'd like a little bit more than that, but I liked that the offense looked fresh in a way that we haven't seen in a couple years, really since probably 2023 when things were really clicking, and another weapon always helps that. But I thought things look, it was just a breath of fresh air. I thought watching a lot of the motion and some of the things that were going on with the offense.
Yeah, I like you brought up the motion, and the other thing is I like the way that they use George Pickens for him to draw the pass interference early, and then the pass in the left side of the end zone. If Dak throws a little bit of a better ball and gives his tall receiver a chance there, maybe that's a pass interference, maybe that's a touchdown for Pickens. I thought Pickens had a pretty good first game. I mean, it's a new system, new quarterback, everything. All things considered, I thought he played really well too, and you can just tell Dak is comfortable right now. That's another thing that I think is worth mentioning is last year we talked about his ability with his legs. We talked about the rushing. I don't really need Dak to run the ball. I don't need him to be what Jalen Hurts was today, but I do need him to show mobility in the pocket. And that pass that he had to CeeDee Lamb on the left sideline early in the game, after he ducked out of Zach Bond and made that throw, that was great. And then there was one play where he looked like Eli Manning in the Super Bowl. They had him wrapped up, and he managed to get away and run for a few yards. That's all I need from Dak right now in terms of his athleticism and his mobility. And he definitely looks fresh. He looks better in that sense. So to your point, Javonte Williams, 2 touchdowns. It's crazy to think the Cowboys got 5 touchdowns out of their running backs all last year. So they got 2 from Javonte Williams today. So that's we're on a much better track this year than we were last year.
That's incredible. And what you said about Dak, I really like too, because the escapability that was kind of absent last year, although, again, didn't get cracked to play the full season and all that stuff. A couple plays right there. I mean, he pulled out a Romo, as Witten would say, pulled a rabbit out of his head situation. So that's good to see. Just felt like he was vibing pretty good, honestly, even down by 4 and really haven't, no points in the second half, but just kind of, okay, give me the ball back. Like, I know he feels good about the dime that he dropped to CeeDee Lamb. He just wanted CeeDee Lamb to catch that pass. So, I that's tough because it's like one of your best players and you expect him to make those plays. And it's not, it's a little bit of what happened the first half and get some stops and things like that. That would have been nice. And who knows what the game looks like then, but that's the key thing. Before we, sit it on down. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. One other thing on Dak. His comfortability to me always shows most in his confidence when he's throwing the seam ball to the tight ends. That's Dak's sweet spot. That's his Witten curl that Tony Romo had. Like that's for me, that's Dak's play. And we saw that with Brevin Spanford. It was a great play by Jihad Campbell, the Eagles defender, and then the one to Jake Ferguson, which resulted in a big penalty, but honestly still could have been caught by Ferguson as well. Same thing can be said honestly for that Pickens pass interference early in the game. Dak was on it, and I thought most of the offense was on it. Props to Tyler Guyton as well. There was obviously a couple plays that were going viral on Twitter, but I thought his full body of work, the punch and all that stuff is great, but it's just, the full body of work was really good, especially coming off an injury. Like I said, I think offensively, everybody was grooving except for CeeDee Lamb. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what cost the Cowboys the game.
No doubt. It's kind of can't believe that's, what happened, because it never seems to happen. The well-coached, not a lot of penalties, things like that. Eagles had a ton of penalties.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I guess we should also mention Brandon Aubrey's still awesome. So that's good. It's something we can count on. I do want to mention before we go ahead and get out of here, we're gonna get a little quick or Jon shot a little audio took a little audio for us last night after he got done with his post-game responsibilities. I do want to say the One Star Podcast has got some big news coming soon. We're going to be partnering with a company called Haymaker. It's a new sports video network right here in DFW. So we're going to be going full video in the coming weeks. We'll let you know more when we launch. But for right now, you can follow at Haymaker Network, at Haymaker Network on Twitter and Instagram. And this will be coming to your eyes and ears this football season. It's going to be a good time. So stay on the lookout for that, and make sure you give them a follow at Haymaker Network. Make sure you follow Jon and Saad as well. Give us a follow on Instagram, the One Star Cowboys Pod. We really appreciate that. I know it was a late night for everyone, so hope you're not too sluggish if you're listening to this at work here on Friday morning. I know I kind of woke up, but I feel like I didn't get a lot of sleep last night either. So for Kent from the Mad About Movies podcast, yes, Kent. For Saad at The Athletic, check out his work. We're going to leave you with a special treat. Live from Philadelphia, about, I would say, about 8 or 9 hours ago. This is Jon Machota, Father Jon Machota, in the cut after his post-game responsibilities up there in Philadelphia. We'll leave you with the dulcet tones of Jon Machota, and we'll talk to you in a few days here on the One Star Cowboys podcast.
Standing outside Lincoln Financial Field right now. A lot of thoughts on this one. One, I'm surprised they kept it as close as they did. Even with Jalen Carter getting thrown out of the game, I still thought the Eagles would win by 2 touchdowns. I didn't think there was going to be anything the defense could do that would stop the Eagles, especially after that first half. Jalen Hurts looked like he would just do whatever he wanted, whether it was run if there was a lane available, or he would just take and make a completion that he would make 9 out of 10 times. And I just didn't think that the Cowboys pass rush would have anything there to get after him. And so I thought it would just be eventually, 8 possessions, they score 6 touchdowns. Like, I just did not think that they would come up with any answers, and they obviously did in the second half, and so that was impressive. Particularly after the rain delay, I did not think that the defense would get the stops that they did. And if you would have told me they would have got those stops, I certainly thought the offense would come up with at least 1 touchdown, especially with some of the stuff they were able to get to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that to me is the story of the game, is that CeeDee drops 3 balls. And technically, you can say that last one is, I don't think it'll go in the rule book or the stat sheet as a drop there. But even that last one, that's a catch that CeeDee is going to make probably 7 out of 10 times. And to have those plays come down to CeeDee Lamb, the exact guy that you want them to, and for him to come up short is stunning to me. I just thought that Dak was playing on a high enough level that he was going to make a few plays down the stretch, and they were going to find a way to steal that game, and it didn't happen. And CeeDee in the locker room took a lot of blame for it, as he should. There's really no one else to point the finger at but himself, because of not just the fact that he is the one that had the drops, but I mean he's taken on more of a leadership role this year. I mean he's one of their captains now, and I don't know that that's something that he would have been 2-3 years ago. And then the other part that factors in for me is just how well he played in training camp. Like, I don't know if he had 2 drops all of training camp, and then for him to have 3 for sure and possibly 4 is just crazy to me. I never would have thought that that's what it would have come down to. If you would have told me that maybe like Jake Ferguson or Cavante Turpin or something like that, that'd be a little bit different, but not CeeDee Lamb. And then the other part of it is just the way CeeDee Lamb played all throughout training camp with Dak Prescott. I mean, from the very first week, they were clicking. I mean, and I understand this isn't training camp. This is an actual game. I get all of that, and I asked CeeDee after the game, do you think, playing in the preseason would have helped? And he said that had nothing to do with those drops today, which I knew he would say that. There's no way that CeeDee Lamb wants or thinks he should be playing in the preseason. I get all of that. And it's understandable. So that was the big one on offense, no question. Surprised that the running game worked as well as it did. And obviously you can point to Javonte Williams not having to go against Jalen Carter. I mean, Dak even admitted after the game how much of a game changer that was in terms of their game plan, because there was a lot of plans to do a lot of doubling at Jalen Carter, and you didn't have to do that. You lose him, and then all of a sudden now the running game starts working, and then they have 2 rushing touchdowns in the first half when you only had 6 all of last season was pretty surprising. And it's also surprising because we didn't know what to expect out of Javonte Williams. He didn't play in the preseason. Most offensive linemen didn't play in the preseason. So, they lost, and they're obviously starting the season 0-1, and it was there for the taking, but I do think there were a lot of positives to take away from it. Pass rush-wise, I think that was a big part. I know a lot of people point to, they didn't have Micah Parsons. That's why they weren't able to get after Jalen Hurts. Yeah, obviously having Micah would have helped, and maybe they do win this game with Micah, but I do think the pass rush is going to be okay. I think between Sam and Nealon, and I think Izaraku will start, getting home on some of these. And then even Dante Fowler. I mean, he wasn't good against the run, but I think there is a decent amount of pass rush there for them to be able to have more success than they did tonight. And so, again, not a great game, especially when you have stuff there for the taking. But I think there's enough positives there that, for another one is the fact that they really didn't have any major injuries, which is pretty big considering that, there were a few Eagles players that got hurt. And so that's always the thing that I'm interested in looking at when a lot of these guys don't play in the preseason. Really, when they come out here tonight, that's their first chance to go against any live action since the end of last season, because they're certainly not tackling to the ground in training camp. So to not have any major injuries, I think that was pretty big too. And obviously Dak looking good was a good thing as well. So make sure I don't forget anything here. I will say linebackers tackling wise, pretty rusty. Made me think how much they're missing DeMarvion Overshown a few times throughout this game. But I will also give them credit. They helped getting some of those stops in the second half. So it wasn't all awful. I'm not going to say that, but and I apologize for all these sirens as I'm standing outside of the field right now. But yeah, that's about it for me. I'm sure we'll be talking about several different aspects of this later on this week. I guess I'll also probably touch on the spitting incident. Dak Prescott did not think that Jalen Carter he didn't expect Jalen Carter to get thrown out of the game. He thought it'd be a 15-yard penalty. And so I thought that whole little back and forth was pretty wild. I mean, such a game changer for something like that to happen. I I just, that was stunning to see not only the initial replay of Jalen Carter spitting on Dak, but then in the second half when the NBC cameras also got the footage of Dak spitting in the direction of Jalen Carter, but it was clearly to spit on the ground. And I think that Jalen Carter might have taken that the wrong way. And then it led to that ejection, which obviously impacted the game greatly. So certainly had a touch on that one as well. Tyler Guyton playing the whole game. That one surprised me a little bit. I thought that there was a good chance he wouldn't even play at all in this game. And so for him not only to be active, but play throughout, I thought the offensive line as a whole wasn't bad at all. Again, not playing in the preseason, having that group working together, having a rookie in Tyler Booker. And then you can play devil's advocate and say, well, yeah, that's because Jalen Carter wasn't out there. That's fair. But it was good to see what they could possibly be on offense, because there are a lot of weapons there if everybody can stay healthy. And I was looking forward to seeing it just because of the fact that there's just only so much you can take from those training camp practices. And every year I feel like there's less and less just because of the way that the rules are structured. So Cowboys are not going 17-0, guys. I'll talk to you later.
At the one-star Postgame, it's a whole lot of fun with jokes and recaps once the match is done. From the